There's a futuristic city in Malaysia that cost $100 billion and almost nobody lives in it. Earlier this year, I moved there to build my startup. I've been documenting my journey here on YouTube from day one, and this chapter is the strangest one so far. Because deep inside these empty towers, a few hundred people were running an experiment. A startup society that wants to become, one day seriously, a new country. And right now the internet is on fire about it. An immigration raid, official investigations, and just a few days ago the whole thing got shut down by the Malaysian government. I lived inside it, and I want to show you what it was actually like. Because what I experienced there changed how I think about where and how I want to live.
We've started new currencies. Could we start new countries?
So network school is the first node of a network society. Imagine if at age 18 or age 21, you picked your country like you picked your college.
Okay, we made it to Singapore. I've been here before, but just every time it's insane. It's surreal. I guess this actually feels like living in the future, like being in some crazy solar punk world where everything is safe, everything is clean, everything lives in harmony. Of course, it's not the full picture of Singapore, but it gets pretty close. And compared to this, when walking through like Neukölln, Berlin, or some areas of the US, it just feels like the old world. And this feels like the new world. There's a practical reason this stuff is on my mind. With my business, I've been asking myself very concrete questions lately. Where do we incorporate? Where do I actually want to live? And the longer you sit with those questions, the bigger they get. What makes a great society? Because look at the news. Wars, debt, bureaucracy, political chaos. It feels like the old order is breaking down and nobody really knows what comes next. And then you stand in Singapore and you remember that none of this is fixed. 60 years ago, Malaysia kicked this tiny island out of its federation. The newborn country was in a pretty bad shape. Slums, mass unemployment, gang crime, no resources, not even its own water. Nobody believed in it. One generation later, Singapore is one of the wealthiest and most prosperous countries on earth. Countries can be built, which makes it even more interesting what was just a few kilometers across the water. Alright, today is the day of our move to Forest City. It's kind of crazy that just 3 months ago I heard about this place for the first time when watching a Yes Theory video. In that video they didn't find much because it actually seemed quite empty except for a random startup society that uses the empty houses, the empty buildings, empty infrastructure there to kind of build up a new society, techno-optimist, and with the aim of having some kind of alternative state. I don't know too much about it, but I remember watching it and thinking like, this is interesting. I like when people do things differently, when people have very bold ideas, bold ambitions. Yeah, it since then always stuck in the back of my head and was like, I might want to try it. I listened to a few podcasts of the founder, looked at the website, but to be honest, there's not too much information about it on the internet. Yeah, so I thought, okay, fuck it, let's just try it, let's just go there. And now I'm here 3 months later, together with 2 friends I made along the way. And yeah, I really have no idea what to expect about the city and about the people in this society, what the vibe is going to be like. But the only way to find out is to go and live there. So that's what we're gonna do. What do you expect from Forest City? Mahmoud, until like 3 weeks ago, didn't know about Forest City. And we told him about it and he just, okay, yeah, I just book it.
Yeah, it looks sick. Like, basically they try to imagine the future as much as they can with like infinite money and they built it, so I'm excited. Besides that, yeah, hopefully we lock in, we meet some great people and get healthy, eat great food. I think they're gonna force us to be healthy.
Yes, the Brian Johnson protocol.
Hell yeah.
There it is. So random, in the middle of nowhere. This looks like how I built my cities in SimCity.
They're all copy-paste.
Yeah, it looks like like for an abandoned city, it's quite a lot of traffic. Okay, now we're exactly at the place where Yes Theory discovered the network school. So funny to be in the exact spot. Okay, we just checked in, and turns out we're staying at like the main luxury hotel of Forest City, which is in perfect shape, has a humongous pool, is directly at the beach, and we have a really big room, everything in perfect condition. I didn't expect this much luxury. I'm not complaining about it. And now, like, I'm already on the edge of Forest City, and over there is Singapore. Man, I love the vibe. They didn't give us much time to arrive. On our first afternoon, we were already standing in the gym for something called the Combine, a fitness test for all newcomers to see where everyone's at. Welcome to network school. The concept itself is simple. You pay a monthly rate and everything is taken care of. A hotel room, 3 healthy meals a day, Brian Johnson approved, a gym next door, a co-working space, and every day there are multiple events and workshops to go to. Behind all of that is this guy, Balaji, Stanford PhD, CTO of Coinbase, well-known tech investor in Silicon Valley. He wrote an entire book about the idea behind this place, network states.
I wanted to give some motivation as to really what it is we're doing at a macro level. At a micro level, this is meant to be a place that you can just lock in, focus, work, level up, work out, get good food, and so on and so forth. But at a macro level, what are we trying to do? So let me describe. The question is that the end of the line for the internet, or is there one more level? Right? Is the end of the line just slinging coins and tokens all day, or are there frontiers still to be assembled? And that's starting new communities, new cities, and perhaps even countries, hence network states. And now that's not abstracting, it's a very concrete thing. This is what a network state looks like, okay? It is a physical social network. It's a social network printed out into the physical world. The network state gives powerless people an alternative in the form of, new societies. But it also gives the power user, ambitious people, an alternative in the form of frontier societies. It's a U-shaped coalition between the powerless and the power user. The person who's trying to hang on to what a bank account is, and the person who's trying to redefine what a bank account even is. Now, to be clear, if you like your country, you can keep it. Sometimes people tell me, oh, Balaji, the network state will never go mainstream. And I say, well, the United States never went mainstream. It's only 4% of the world. Right? 96% of the world is not American. But obviously it did. Culturally, it went very mainstream. Google's only a few thousand people in the grand scheme of things, but it had enormous influence on billions of people, right? You don't necessarily need to get to 51% adoption of anything in order to change everything. So this is what I call the new SaaS, Society as a Service. And we're actually implementing it here, right? Everything is taken care of for you. You have one subscription, and it's all taken care of. And we optimize the daily loop, and then we optimize eventually the weekly loop and the monthly loop, the quarterly loop, the annual loop, so that everything that you need is very close.
I don't agree with everything Balaji thinks, but I deeply respect that he's one of the very few people actually trying to build new societal structures instead of just complaining about the old ones falling apart. And an idea this big was always going to collide with the real world at some point. Back then, we had no idea how soon. Okay, we have transportation sorted out. With this high-speed vehicle, we're going to explore the island. Let's start by having a look at how things should be, because there's a big 3D model of how the city was planned, and it's very different from reality. Okay, this is everything that exists. This is the hotel we're living in, our room is somewhere there. And this is all the stuff that they still planned. But how did Forest City even end up like this? It was built to be sold to Chinese families, as an investment and second home by the sea. And for a while that worked. Thousands of apartments got sold in what should become this futuristic $100 billion city on 4 artificial islands right next to Singapore. But then in 2017, the Chinese government cracked down on money leaving the country and the buyers disappeared. On top of that, the pandemic closed the border for 2 years, and back in China, the property bubble burst, leaving the developer drowning in debt. So the building stopped. Only 1 artificial island out of 4 got actually built, and around 9,000 people live in a place designed for hundreds of thousands. At least the parking is excellent, I guess. And what's interesting is that the owners from the early years are still being billed for maintenance every month, and the city itself is still for sale. So everything is well maintained. They even have free public pools, which gives this empty city an extra weird vibe.
It's pretty crazy, like the lady that we talked to, she can only speak Chinese. very little English, and she is actually from China, so they are selling mostly, like overwhelmingly, just to Chinese people. This is like a second home for Chinese families, and that's how they market it. And
We got the information.
we got the information.
Now we can think about if we invest or not.
Yeah.
And now we're at like the main square, I would say, of our city, and as you can see, it's quite lively. Like a bunch of motorbikes, open restaurants. Here are buses that can directly take you to Singapore.
We're just on the wrong side of the road.
We just realized after like driving for 20 minutes that this is left lane traffic. I think he wants a drag race. He's waiting. What the hell? Okay, welcome to Malaysia, where the weather can just change within 10 minutes. Like it was just sunny, beautiful day, and now we just ended up in a storm. And good thing that we have our roof right here.
I don't know why they did it again. Look at the score, we put on my blem. Me and my view like Bobby and Ken. They said the aura threatening them. I said it before with the creme de la creme.
Ping, pong, she back and forth, can't make up her mind yet. Is you with me or not? I know I'm a rapper's making a digress.
Ping, pong, back so fat can't fit in a tight dress. I'm trying to make peace go play with peas. I'm going outside.
Life at network school was pretty simple. You wake up, the gym is right next door, breakfast is already waiting for you, and after a 10-minute walk you're at the co-working space where you can log in, your lunch gets delivered and you build until dinner. At the same time every day you get a healthy dinner served, and then you have a couple more hours to either work or socialize. I've tried so many times to build a simple but effective routine like this at home, and here it just happened by itself without any effort. Because so much was taken care of and the environment made it the path of least resistance. And I really felt that. I had more energy than usual, and even my Whoop data showed the best sleep and recovery scores in a while. What I didn't expect was how much was going on at network school. There were events every single day, AI workshops, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, running clubs, meditation, debate nights, most of it organized by the community itself. We even had our own little Olympics. It was a lot of fun, sometimes almost too much fun, because there was always something happening that felt more interesting than work. Connecting with people is very easy, everyone's new, everyone's open, though the wildest connection for me started before we arrived in Forest City. Kev, an Australian guy, had used our product, found my videos, and at some point just reached out if he could come co-work with us for a while. I told him we were about to move to network school, so he booked flights and joined us there for a part of our stay, and we had a great time together. Shout out to Kev, moments like this show me again how powerful it is to share your journey online. The right people just find you. But the longer I lived there, the more I felt what was missing. Because outside of network school, the city stays empty. There's more life than the internet claims, but it never feels like a real grown place. And I noticed how much I actually love the vibe of Europe, where the streets and the culture just feel organic, diverse and authentic. That's nothing you can build with a master plan. So if you ask me what network school really is, I would say it's like an alternative college in a very unusual place. It's not where I would want to live long term at the moment, but as a reset, as a way to get out of your environment for a month, cleanse your lifestyle and meet amazing people from all around the world. For that, it's a really special place. And then, a few months after we left, the story turned. One day before local elections in Johor, the Malaysian state that Forest City belongs to, an activist group accused Network School of hosting people who also hold an Israeli passport, which is an explosive accusation in Malaysia, a country that doesn't recognize Israel and doesn't let Israeli citizens enter the country. So immigration came and checked all residents. Everything was in order, and the whole accusation was strange to begin with, because whether someone's allowed into the country is the government's job, checked at the border, not something you can pin on a co-working space. But anyways, the damage was done. Suddenly one Malaysian authority after another had new questions about arbitrary licenses, permits, registrations. Things that hadn't been a problem for 2 years were a problem now. Balaji froze his planned expansion and asked the Prime Minister in an open letter, "Do you still want us here? Yes or no?" And a few days later he got his answer. Network School got their business licenses revoked and told to shut down within 24 hours, signed off by the state government and the royal family. Malaysia and Asian cultures in general tend to value trust, respect and relationships more than the West. Things get sorted quietly, in person, over time, and Network School operated more like a Western startup. Build first, ask later, and when the pressure came, they went public with an open letter that basically asked the government for a deal while hinting they might take their money elsewhere, which is a normal move in tech. There it came across as disrespectful. But still, kicking them out feels completely absurd to me. In the end, this is just a community of people from all over the world, living and working together. Many of them had built a life there for the long term, and now they have a few days to leave all of it behind. That doesn't just hurt them, it tells everyone watching that Malaysia isn't a place you can build on. Remember the Singapore story from the beginning? Lee Kuan Yew, later the founding father of Singapore, wanted a united Malaysia, where every citizen has the same rights, no matter their race. But Malaysia's leadership insisted on special privileges for the Malay majority. The tension escalated, there were riots, and in the end, Malaysia pushed the island out. Singapore then built its entire country on the opposite principle. Equal rules for everyone, open to talent and trade from everywhere. 60 years later, you can clearly see what brings you further. I don't know if Balaji can pull off his vision, but I'm rooting for him and for the community I was part of. And in a way, getting kicked out is the first real test of his own thesis. The community was never the buildings, it exists online first, and the land underneath is replaceable. They are already building elsewhere now. Other governments were happy to sign what Malaysia wouldn't.
Hi, this is Jaslan Madiev, Deputy Prime Minister. We're happy to have Balaji here in Astana.
Starting something new is fragile. It can fall apart over a single Instagram post. And Forest City is losing hundreds of friendly and ambitious people who brought life into it. Okay, I was just strolling around Forest City and I met someone that is not from Network School and is living here. So
Malaysia local.
Yes, a real local. So how is it for you to live in Forest City? Because on the internet you always see like ghost town, empty.
Yeah, just the most popular one. But it seems just pretty chill, man. Especially people like to go to beach and people like to go to the network school that, you know, 9 to 10,000, yeah, the population. Yeah, you know
Crazy.
that?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, man.
Interesting. Okay, and you're coaching them to become fit.
That's right.
That was
No, bro.
interesting. Damn, it's a surreal place. Behind me is Malaysia. Here in the back, you can see Singapore, and all the way over there is Indonesia. So you can see 3 countries from this one point. From up there, Malaysia, Singapore and Indonesia are just land and water. No lines, no borders, nothing. All the passports, the politics, the drama, you can't see any of it in the real world. Humans made it up. And that applies to almost everything in life. The rules we live by, the careers we're supposed to follow, the values we should believe in. Someone made it up. And if someone made it up, someone can change it. You can just do things. Most limits we feel are inherited, not real. Nobody stopped me from moving into a ghost city I had seen in someone else's YouTube video just a couple of months earlier. Nobody stops you from starting that project, sending that message, learning that skill. The people at Network School just took it one step further and started building a new society. You don't have to believe in their vision to take the lesson. Waiting for permission is optional. Your environment matters. This month in Forest City made it obvious how much my surroundings shape me. My energy, my habits, my thinking. Motivation and discipline are overrated. Your default is everything, and your default is set by your environment. The people around you, the place you live, the culture you absorb. So be deliberate about it. I'll put way more energy into choosing and shaping my environments from now on. Love over fear. In the end, everything in the story came down to one of these 2 forces. Fear closes borders, writes hate comments, and protects what already exists. Love says yes. To strangers, to new experiences, to ideas that sound crazy at first. I've now seen where both lead, in my own life and at the scale of entire countries. It's a choice we all make, every single day. On to the next adventure.